Hey, this is Matt once again. What about in the video, the paid request this time for Bobby? Thank you so much for that, Bobby. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of blueness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now this is for, like I said, The Legend of Zorro, which is the sequel. Because there's The Mask of Zorro in 1998. And then for some reason it took them 7 years to do a sequel. It was probably one of the many mistakes this film made. Now, I don't hate this film, but this is pretty meh. The first movie is much better, and this is a pretty... I liked Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Rufus Sewell, I liked him as an actor. The villain was there, but I liked him as an actor ever since I saw him in Dark City. Some of the action scenes, I think there's some decent choreography, although there's a bit more oomph in the first movie. You have the same director, Martin Campbell, who did GoldenEye and the 2000... around this time, Casino Royale. Funny enough about Zorro, I just found out that at one point, I guess a couple months ago or something, Quentin Tarantino wanted to do a Jane Doe Zorro crossover with Jane Doe, Jamie Foxx, and Antonio Banderas coming back as Zorro. I mean, I actually would have seen that, but that because I guess Antonio Banderas was actually excited about it, but that probably would have been better than this movie, but that didn't happen. Why, I don't know. But there's a comic book. That's why. There's a comic book out with that. So, okay, that's interesting. The problems are, again, I like Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I think they, with the material they have, are doing the best they can. Like I said, some of the sword fight scenes, like the train sequence at the end, is pretty fun. Going in and out and on top of the train, in front of the train, as a sword fight between Antonio and Rufus Sewell. And some nice explosions and flips and agility, stunt work. But the movie, number one, it feels more kid-friendly compared to the first, from what I remember. Number two, it feels a lot longer. It probably is the same running time, but it feels longer. And so that gets into some pacing issues where it comes off as just boring at times. And the story just isn't as strong. You know, something to do with Rufus Sewell has this nitro that he's going to hide its soap and destroy the U.S. Either help the Confederates with the Union or something like that. And then also there's something about a secret society and some other shit. I still don't remember what the fuck the plot is. I'm trying to think. But also it has something to do with the beginning of the film where there's vote for California to join the U.S. And the bad guy there, which is Nick Chinland, who I remember, if you've seen Con Air, you know the guy who's got the bunny. And Nick Cage goes, put the bunny back in the box. And Nick Cage fights the guy. The guy he fights is Nick Chinland. That's Nick Chinland. I also remember him from an X-Files episode called Irresistible, I believe. Donnie Faster, he played the character who was into fingernails and hair. It was like a weird psycho killer that almost gets Scully. I think that was the name of the episode. I can't remember. But yeah, vote for California to join the U.S. And then the bad guys are going to steal the box of votes. And it's a bit weird because even the characters say, and I know other people brought this up, well, we could just vote again. And he goes, yeah, but if you vote again, you don't be sorry. Well, I'm like, aren't there secret votes? Like, how you don't stop it? Kill every single person? Even if there are 5 people, the 5 people will vote. 3-2, we win, you know. So So Zorro stops them, and you did some choreography. You did a little less like stab wounds and such. And I don't mind like the gymnastics, agility of Zorro, and makes the carriage flip over, and the sword fight. He's jumping on this to this to this, and this, using the whip and jumping through and crashing through the floor. They hit Nick Chinland with his leg, like. I think the choreography is pretty decent. I'd probably say the first one did that better though. And then that's when the movie really went. And I got into spoilers starting now. Spoilers. Like I said, it's not a rant because I don't hate it, but it was just not nearly as good. Because then, as during the fight, he lost his mask was off, and he puts it back on. But before he does, these two assholes see him in his face. He goes home. He's married to Catherine Zeta. They have this annoying twat waffle kid. He was annoying as hell. I did not like the kid. What is it with these movies and putting a fucking kid in it? They did in The Mummy Returns, which I didn't like, and they did in this movie, which I didn't like. I would say I like The Mummy Returns more than this, but they're both sequels that suffer, and the previous film was much better. But I really liked The Mummy from '99. And The Mask of Zorro I remember being pretty good. But then, again, The Mummy Returns I put over this, but they're both, step downs to me. And I was like, why the fuck do we need this kid in there? Don't give a shit about the kid. Unless his short round from Temple of Doom. And then Catherine Zeta-Jones, they made her a nag. You said you would stop being Zorro. The people need me. No, you need you. Zorro needs Zorro. Why are you making Catherine Zeta-Jones, who was a Spitfire Wildfire in the first movie, such a naggy? And then she fucks off, and then those two assholes that saw Antonio without the mask, they put a gun on her, and then the next thing you know, Antonio gets divorce papers, and then it's 3 months later, and he's a drunk. He's got his kid with him, and the kid belittles him all the time, saying, "You're a pussy, Dad. You're a fucking chicken shit." He doesn't say that, but he thinks it. "You're a fucking pussy, Dad. You're Antonio Batono. You're Antonio Zaparo Bonono. You're Menudo." I'm sitting there going, why the fuck would anyone want to watch Zorro sad, depressed, and drunk? And get belittled by his fucking annoying kid. They should take his fucking sword and fucking, I don't know, pick him up and twirl him around and throw him back, I don't know, back where he came from. Right? There's your mom. Right back into your uterus. And you tell him the Z sent you. You can sit there and have a couple Z's till you wake up and apologize and poop out your mom's snatch again. You little twerp. Just fucking twerp. So the divorce happens. Yeah, great. We get to see. You sure this movie wasn't made today? And I'm like, why? Okay, you find, again, super spoilers. This is the last time I'll say spoilers. You find out that Catherine Zeta-Jones was forced to go undercover because the government didn't have jurisdiction, and she's supposed to undercover gal kissing up the Rufus Sewell to find out what he's doing, which is nitro and soap. You tell me there's no other way she could have told Antonio, like, I didn't, someone else. Because I'll be honest, I forget who reviewed this film as well. He made a couple good points. Because another point he made was, why the fuck don't they just get Antonio Banderas to go undercover? And you're Zorro. But I guess go undercover as your count or whatever, and you got a business transaction with them, and you can handle yourself in a fight. But no, they decide to pick fucking Catherine Zeta-Jones. But you tell me there's no other way she could send, info to her? info to him. And the kid, like, I don't need to see the kid shoot 5 people in the ass with a slingshot. I don't need to see the kid try to... For some reason, he can walk, and Zorro trained himself in this. He didn't have superpowers to all of a sudden do all this shit. Like, I remember Antonio Banderas being trained to become Zorro by Anthony Hopkins. But this kid didn't need training. He just, I could flip and do all this and do all this. I'm like, what? Does that pass through genes, like STDs? So if I am an agility jumping Jack Horner, I fucked someone and impregnate him, the kid will be able to do the same thing? No, it's that we need Zorro Jr. for the kids. And look how he's messed up this teacher, and he's teached the teacher, yay! I'm like, fuck you, kid. Get your ass to detention. And I didn't need to see a horse with Antonio both getting drunk and the horse getting drunk and burping. So I know, there's some angry shit to this, I know. Just the first half, other than that opening, until about 45-50 minutes in, I'm sitting there going, oh my god, man, this movie is pretty lame. Really lame. And Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones being separated for a good chunk of the movie was a mistake. Because people enjoyed the chemistry they had with each other, they enjoyed the back and forth they had with each other, they enjoyed the Spitfire romance, the exotic heat. Stripping that and separating that for so long was a mistake. And then lo and behold, when you get in the second half, and there's a scene where they're both fighting back to back, that's a fun little piece of business with decent choreography. I didn't mind the Padre, who is Antonio Banderas' buddy. Julio Oscar Mashok, I can't pronounce his last name. Julio Oscar. I remember him because he was one of the detectives in Bad Boys. Like, you had Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and then you had the other guys. And one of them was Julio. And they were kind of banter with Will and Martin back and forth. He was also in Virus. He was kind of the... I think his character's name was Squeaky. He was like the comic relief. He's a guy with William Baldwin goes, are you okay? And he's got the thing on his, like, never better. Whatever he said. He was in Blue Streak as well with Martin Lawrence. Sadly, he passed away in 2017. I didn't realize that. That's too bad. He was a pretty decent character actor. I thought he did a good job here. He even gets a fight scene with Antonio Banderas, and they're fighting these guys. Like I said, the choreography is not John Wick mind-blowing, but I thought it was decent. I thought the first film was a bit better with that. Like I said, the train ending, where you have like the kid doing stuff, you have the Catherine Zeta-Jones fighting this one guy, and then you have Zorro fighting Rufus Sewell, and they're going in, and then above, then in front of the train. Now, there is some weak digital composite type of stuff. Like, there's a bit where he's on a horse, and he jumps onto the train, and then this thing's coming at him, and he jumps with the horse into this and crashes through. I mean, it's a Zorro film, it's not going to be realistic, but it still felt more real in the first movie. I don't know how to put it. It's a film that, because of some of the action pieces being decent, because I like some of the actors like Antonio and Catherine, because I've seen so much worse movies, it's not an awful film. But if you really think about it, you didn't really need a sequel. I think even some of the people behind the scenes said, we kind of ended it with the first movie. What more could you tell? But I mean, on the flip side, there's plenty of Zorro stories you could tell. And they chose this one for some reason. But again, waiting 7 years was a mistake. Right, think about it. 7 years. If you saw that when you were 14, you're now 21, and you could drink. If you saw that when you were, I don't know, 35, you're now in your 40s. Like, that's a long time, 7 years. Let's say you're 10 years old and you love Zorro. Wow! You're now 17. You're waiting for 18 and then you want to get, out of high school and do some shit. It was too long of a wait in between. The dust had settled for anyone who was into Mask of Zorro. They felt, I don't need to see it, or I'll pass. And the lukewarm reviews didn't help. And yeah, a lot of reviews, even Roger Ebert called the film boring, because they use Z, like. And like I said, the first part was, other than the opening scene, was fairly boring. Making Catherine a nag and then separating those two so that you don't see as much of their chemistry with each other was a mistake. The plot, the Rufus Sewell's plan was... I mean, I'll watch this over Jonah Hex. It's not as long as The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp, which feels like 3 hours. But, I mean... if you're a big fan of the first film, you probably check this out. Or otherwise, just stick with the first movie. At the end, it's... below average. Is that me ranting on it? But I would say it's below average. A couple action sequences and a couple of the actors. And like I said, it's not like awfully filmed. At least in my eyes. But it just... It's a sequel I don't think many people were asking for either. Like I said before. Kind of unneeded. But hey, get rid of the kid. Keep Catherine with Antonio. Hell, you can have it be a team together if you want. And you think she'll be a damsel in distress, but then they're both helping each other out. And then Catherine is helping some people, and then Zorro goes in and saves the day, doing some crazy action set pieces. And then at the end, you just say... I'm trying to remember, was she pregnant at the end of the first film? I'm trying to remember if they set that up. I can't remember that part. But, yeah. Antonio Banderas, I think, it was great to see him. I liked him as an actor. But some of the humor, let's say, like there's a bit where someone shoves a poker up a guy's ass as a joke. I was ready for him to do the Yosemite Sam. Whoa, well, Yosemite, remind me of Yosemite Sam. Can't even talk. Yosemite Sam. Fuck. Guy in a stutter. Ricky Wild West, Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider, no I don't want nada, I want none of this, none of that. Yeah, I'd probably rather watch Wild Wild West than this, and that pisses people off. And that's not a great movie either, but you know what, I don't hate it as much as other people do. It's just a very flawed film, but I'd rather watch Wild Wild West than this. I'll say it. Mask of Zorro is better than both of them, but Wild Wild West was a bit more fun and not as boring compared to this. Yeah. That Jane Doe Zorro movie, Quentin Tarantino, I would have been curious. I will admit, I would have been curious, but hey, yeah, guess it just wasn't meant to be. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.